PvP. At some point in our lives, we learn to do one thing so well that we crave to test its limits, only to meet someone who's been at it longer than you ever have and completely decimate you. Maybe you went in with the expectations that you might not be the best in the grand scheme of things when compared to the general population. Lick your wounds, stand back up, and keep at it till you get better. How much better, you ask? Well, as much as it is physically, spiritually, and psychologically possible. As you improve and leave others in the dust, you learn that the price of being the best runs deep and might not have been what you were expecting when you first dive into this rabbit hole. You'll find deception, heresy, worst of all, a serious lack of self-awareness. Everything under the sun in order to be at the top. Welcome to PvP. Hello, I talk about gacha games, and today I'm gonna tell you why everything I just mentioned is generally not welcome in the gacha game community. These two things doesn't seem completely incompatible. Gacha is a fully live service like any PvP game, so there isn't really a problem, and to that end, a good number of gacha games usually have some kind of arena or ranking board to pit players against each other. So why are they hardly ever mentioned when a gacha game is being discussed? Why is PvP usually brushed off as a side game mode that is just for fun, usually? A good place to start at is by looking at both genres in the industry and separating individual aspects of said game categories. So what does gacha games have that traditional online PvP don't? Well, it's in the name, gacha. Well, in-game shop items like gambling mechanics aren't unique to anime-style mobile RPGs. They are rarely the main focus of the game. Skin pulling in CSGO is all the jazz with kids, but you never hear anyone use that as a selling point, or the game's main feature, for example.
Holy shit, I think I just shit myself. I think I fucking just actually shit myself. Fuck!
Where over here, we all know why we play these games. Unlike these online PvP games though, gacha games are intrinsically designed around the gacha system. Most of the characters you use are whatever you gotten from the gacha, and the strength of your account is based on those characters and who you chose to invest your resources into. At least for free-to-play player, in PvP games, your options against other players are all available from the get-go. You are allowed to use any gun in CSGO just by picking them up. Most of the champions are available to you when you play a mobile. Your own knowledge on the game is generally what decides the strength of your account, and nothing else you accumulated playing that game. At the core of it all, the gacha system is not made for balanced competitive gameplay. Knowing all this, we can go into what drastic changes does a gacha game need in order to have a balanced PvP environment. You know what's rarer than getting a 5-star before reaching 70 pulls in Genshin? Having a character get nerfed. And no, I don't mean in the assets department. I meant having an established kit for months only to get nerfed after the devs studied how the character is used in the game. This is almost unheard of in gacha games. If anything, the opposite is more likely to happen, where the player base gets angry when a character they paid money for isn't strong enough. You start to think they must be extra careful when they make a character as to not break the content.
Dr. West, cover your watch.
While there are some truth to that, more often than not, there's pivot towards making content that directly shuts down the newer broken units, which will leave less than decent units even more behind, and it will turn into a whole other ordeal. That is a video for another day. Bottom line, normal PvP games puts an emphasis on player balance continuously, even after releasing a character or weapon, while gacha games focus more on pumping out new characters. While we are on the topic of balance, let us dive deeper into the rabbit hole, which is the equalizing for PvP. Earlier in the video, I said how well you perform in a PvP game is based on your own skill and knowledge on the game. This applies to situations where you don't get everything. You don't start with every weapon in Fortnite or Counter-Strike. You're allowed to ban the enemy team from choosing heroes that directly counters you in MOBAs. Now imagine how that will work in a gacha game. This character you spend weeks grinding to get to a certain level will be dropped down to base level like everyone else to somehow even things out. The character you spend months saving for because everyone else told you to gets banned because, well, everyone else is using it too much. With all that said, neither of these things are actually implemented into gacha games that do have PvP side games. What they actually did is lean more in the opposite end of the typical balancing, where everyone is free to use any character they like at any level they like. In order to make this somewhat fair, they solely relied on rank-based matchmaking to do all the hard work. The results are as good as you might think. Ask anyone who plays these games and the PvP, and they will reply back in a self-deprecating "it is what it is" tone. In a game with a selection of over 100 characters to pick from, people's creativity really shines while it's in a competitive situation. Here's a little game. Take a shot every time you see the exact same lineup in a game of Fire Emblem. By having PvP as a side game mode, gacha games will inevitably have to dedicate a second design philosophy towards balancing new units for both normal content and PvP. Sometimes they go overboard and accidentally make the unit good at everything, forcing everyone that is somewhat into PvP to pull for them. Basically, don't expect to be playing on an even field when it comes to gacha game PvP unless you are willing to open your wallet. Game devs sometimes try to make relevant PvP rewards obtainable through participating, whether you win or lose. But that's purely a band-aid solution to how poorly balanced the game mode is. Now that you know what a gacha game usually needs to consider when implementing any form of PvP, let's discuss why gacha games are the few exceptions that can completely forego online interaction, especially PvP. If you think about it, what's really stopping people from playing online PvP games? Counter-Strike, League, Fortnite. Just like any gacha game, these are available to play for absolutely free. And that's not a coincidence. These games need a lower barrier of entry in order to lure in as many people as possible, in hopes of reeling in a single big catch who will fund the game for the rest of the players. Hell, don't take it from me.
A competitive advantage that is pay to win for the killers.
Essentially, if you're not willing to pay up, you become the entertainment for the whales, who can easily push you around as much as they like, cause they bought all the stronger stuff than you. Is what I would have said looking in from the outside. But as the years passed, the gacha game audience started becoming aware of how they are exploited.
Competitive advantage is good, but you can go overboard with it and have an unbalanced game, which is, if it's too clearly pay to win, people will stop playing.
Game devs needed to shift towards a different design philosophy, which leads us to the rise of gacha games being more single player oriented, where most of the experience is built around playing the game alone instead of continuous interaction with other players. While PvP games purely rely on player interacting with each other to keep the game alive, gacha games are able to make a single player model while monetizing parts of the core gameplay that will get the players to open their wallets, along with making it a gambling mechanic, allows them to generate enough revenue to continuously create single-player content, which won't normally be the case with pure online games. Nowadays, single-player interaction is a result of the live service model and not an inherent gameplay design in gacha games. Pitting players against each other is no longer a necessity, as most newer gacha games realize. If anything, there is more to gain by ingratiating yourself with the whales. Gacha are in this field area where the game doesn't just stop the moment you close the app. Community events, discussions, news, all kinds of social activities that have no direct impact on the game themselves, the likes of which was only seen with MMOs back in the day. And to that end, Gacha has finally carved its own identity within the industry. No game is for everyone. No game should be for everyone. Maybe you wish Discord Nitro isn't a year-long subscription. Maybe you wish IKEA meatballs aren't always served with the lingonberry sauce. We call them heretics. Maybe you just want a free live service game with an active community that isn't a PvP game, and that niche just so happens to be gacha games. Hello again everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. I like exploring more nuanced topics when it comes to gacha game designs, and I'm glad this worked out. Like and subscribe if you'd like to see me tackle more gacha game topics, and comment down below what you think about PvP in gacha games. After all, it's the people who make gachas.